Love it. It is my favorite day of the week.
Whoa, Nelly!
Yeah, whoa, Nelly. It's Monday morning. Rise and shine, people. Get up. Don't hit that snooze button. I've already been up.
What's
for
up with
2.5
the snooze
hours.
button, by the way? My daughter has this snooze button thing.
No,
and it's like it starts going across at 2 a.m, 3 a.m. It just like get out of bed.
Yeah.
Just get out of bed.
I was up at 5:32. Already been working out, doing stuff, show prep, of course, which it might involve reading some Gator Bait Media daily thoughts from Franz the Iron Duke Beard. But got a great show today. Doug B. Dean is maneuvering through the traffic in Birmingham, and anybody that's ever been anywhere knows that the traffic, the city of Birmingham is designed for a city about a third, maybe a fourth that size, the interstate system and the highways.
Yes.
So Doug will be with us momentarily. Doug Dean in Birmingham. Also, Ben Troupe from 84 Reasons over in Savannah. It will be with us. And Franz Beard, the Iron Duke. Check him out on GatorBaitMedia.com. Daily thoughts, one final pithy thought. Writing some of the best stuff that you'll see anywhere.
Yes. It's
you know what writers are like, Brendan? They're like great chefs.
Yes.
They just get better and better and better. All right.
That's Franz for sure. That is Franz for sure.
No doubt. Look, enable notifications, allow them on your iPhone or Android, and hit smash subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner. YouTube alert for SEC Sideline Sports Network and SEC.
You know what? I got to add to it, Rob, because you got to like our videos now. That would be helpful. Just like, go down at the bottom, just like you do on Facebook. Anything else, give us a like, and give us a subscription.
Absolutely.
We really do appreciate it. You all have to understand, tell your friends and tell everyone about it. This is how we continue to bring you programming for free to you. And, we want to continue to do that. So you really just help us out, just supporting our sponsors and going ahead and liking and subscribing to the channel. It really, really makes a difference.
Yeah, it absolutely does. It's like the Vitamin Shop and Hewlett & Dunn and House Industries. All these great sponsors. We're going to talk a lot with you today. Get pen and paper handy. Take notes. We're coming at you right after this.
Pen and paper. Get it, man.
Sidelines with Rob Brown. Talk sporty to me.
All right, Rob Brown and Brendan Martin. Brendan, look, I'm looking at the SEC baseball standings. The league, if you don't have pitching, you struggle in baseball. If you don't have a point guard, you struggle in basketball. If you don't have a quarterback, you will struggle in football. By God, you've got 8-10 pitchers on the roster, and you can't keep these guys healthy. You look at the program. I don't know if it's the trainers, if it's what they're doing in terms of the therapy, the rehab or whatever, but I'll tell you what it is. We're starting the kids playing baseball at such a young age. These kids' arms, they get to college, I think, are wearing out. I mean, I don't know what else you can say, but when we talk to Dr. James Andrews, probably the best orthopedic, probably is not a word I use, the best orthopedic surgeon I know of in the world. And he said, go back 10, 15 years ago, we might see a dozen cases of Tommy John shoulders a year. Now we're seeing hundreds. I mean, you've got, look, nobody.
We knew growing up.
Yeah.
And I was a pitcher.
Yeah.
We knew growing up, don't throw you threw that sinker like over your pointer finger, that was more of that snap, down, like this. Mm-hmm. Whereas anytime that you got this way, you know what I mean? Anytime that you threw and you came this way and you were pushing out like that, sliders, away from you, that was always the most painful day when you were done, because people don't understand when you get done pitching, you throw a full game, your arm, even in high school, even before, your arm hurts. I mean, it's like it throbs
painful.
for a while, and that's why you see them with ice on them all the time, because it's not natural for you to overthrow. I had somebody orthopedic told me one time, he's like, every time you do this, you even throw, you make micro tears all up and through this muscle. It's
You can
not
hear
a
them.
natural, you can hear it. I can hear this arm to this day. So when, that's why they have pitch counts, when they're in, youth league, that's why they have pitch, all the way up even through high school. But there's no pitch counts when you're practicing. God knows I sat out there for hours and hours throwing balls. So, I think that's where it's they're saying now it's these young kids are doing this one motion thousands and thousands of times, right?
Yeah.
And you train for that one motion for like the Olympics. You see it in a lot of Olympic athletes. And then that's the struggle, because, eventually you're wearing down that certain particular body parts, and then eventually they collapse, i.e. like your Achilles heel. Things like those injuries are you see more of, because that's what you're using to jump, run, swim, whatever it is that you're doing. So baseball and throwing like that, pitchers take a beating.
Yeah. Well, and it's not, I can tell you from 14 years of volunteer coaching, middle school kids, cross country and track and field. I will say this. I'd never heard growing up of Hodgkin slaughters and severs and all this stuff. Well, when you got kids playing 3 and 4 sports, tell your kids no. Say, in the fall, you're going to play soccer, or you're going to do cross country.
Yeah.
You can do this other sport here. You can do this in the spring. I don't blame just the kids. It's these parents who are living vicariously through their kids. I mean, we all want the best for our kids, but look, it's a fact. Nobody goes to more baseball games than moms. It's not even close. That moms really no.
Well, not in my world, but yeah.
I know, but traditionally,
I go to all the games. I do all that stuff.
I know, I went through that, but I'm just saying women know, they can read the room, man. And I'm just saying, but I'll look at baseball. Look at these standings. Okay, Kentucky they've got divisions still like this, but there's no divisions. Kentucky at 16-5 is 15-6, right behind them Tennessee. Then 11-10 Vandy. Then in the West Division, I'll do that for simplicity. Arkansas 16-5, A&M 16-6, Mississippi State 12-9, and you go down there, you got Auburn at 3-18. The pitching, we have Butch Thompson on the show a lot, Auburn's baseball coach, and Butch says doctors have told him, when you're throwing a baseball faster than 90 miles an hour, the ulna, the elbow, whatever, it's not designed to go past 90. And so we got all these kids. I see it. Kids are out there. Look, I'm off. Our parents had to find us. Doug knows this. You know it, Brendan. Our parents had to hunt us down to get us to come in at night because we were out playing. You got kids now that are laying around, and then they go to practice with a specialist and just repetition, bam, bam, bam. But I think we're starting them out so young, they're getting to college, they're out of gas. It's what's happening with the running backs in college football. Doug B. Dean, how about that Birmingham traffic? God.
You got to love it, but we can still get this to Atlanta on traffic.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, nothing like Atlanta. Doug,
Rob,
we were just talking about...
Sorry if I walked on you.
No, go ahead.
We enough time for Brendan to give the complete unabridged history of Gator football before I could jump on the show. Did that go all right?
Yeah, no, we were talking about pitching injuries and stuff like that for young kids. I mean, in baseball. And Doug, I'm just going to throw this one at you. You're looking at Auburn baseball this year. You look at Florida and you look at LSU. It's unreal. And the boys from old Florida inside, that is cool.
Oh, do you want some history? I got a library right behind me, bro.
I know.
We can break it down
Gators.
However you want. All right here. Through.
Well, let me tell you, we'll get to baseball in a minute. Rob is right. I thought you were talking about 8 and 10-year-olds getting pitching injuries because their pitcher is playing his own ego to win games. But
That's what we were doing. Yeah.
Yeah, we were talking about.
Brenda, there are things in life that are too soon. You've seen that meme, right? Is it too soon? Let me tell you what's still too soon for me, Brendan. It's too soon for me to have to ponder the Jabba doctrine, just Auburn being Auburn, that we have a field goal kicker, Robert McGinty, choke an Iron Bowl in '84, only to transfer to Florida and kick a it was a 50+ yarder
50
to beat Auburn. I want to say behind an injured Kerwin Bell. Is that about right?
Yes, sir.
He was coming in on one good leg. Remember that? He went down in the LSU
Back
game
in the
4
good old
weeks
days,
earlier.
man. They were like, "Hey, I can't go. Shoot me up. Let's go. Couple needles will get me back out there. Come on, coach. We're good."
Yeah.
We back when if we had to go to war in a ground war, we weren't too worried about it. Now I would be worried about it.
Yeah. Doug, we had a cool show Friday. Dave Tompkins,
Yeah, it
Frank
was.
Duffy, and I love it about, and Brendan, I love the title he put out there in the YouTube, library of the show, is private equity trying to buy college football. There's a lot of stuff happening. Your take again, after pondering and thinking about that over the weekend, private investor groups coming in for a playoff like that. Hey, if they can make a big return on their money, it's going to be hard to keep them out, isn't it? I think.
Yeah, I guess I want, and that's why I asked the great Dave to Friday to give us a primer. Rob, classy people pronounce it primer, not primer. All right.
I like that.
Aluminium color.
But I wanted to know, what are the alternative ways that such private equity is structured? With a small business, we're all pretty familiar with that. You get an influx of cash. There's some oversight and monthly reporting. You got to produce results, and then from there it takes different. There's an opportunity to overtake and buy out the business from the private equity firm eventually. But I think college football or any so-called amateur level sports would have to be structured different, because I, for one, and I always hate that when I tell the truth as I see the strikes and balls, much of the time these days in this wacky wild west that we've got with NIL portal and governance or lack of governance, you start sounding like old man yelling at the cloud, or Clint Eastwood in Gran Torino on his front porch telling kids to get off his lawn with I couldn't do that with a 12-gauge shot because they want to ban them. But I do think I have trepidation about private equity, depending on how they could structure it. So if there's a way to do it where colleges who get to hopefully will continue to get to define our culture, how we want athletics to fit within the overall, call it the experience of being an Alabama student, a Florida, an Auburn student, which and there are nuances of differences in those. I love what might have been President Gouge or someone said, which you've heard many times, Rob, that you can be cynical about being a football factory in the South, or that we care to, it just means more. But the thing is, if you ask the students who want to come to a particular university in the deep South, like the ones the three of us love, then the athlete football, and to some extent basketball and maybe some other sports, is the front porch. Don't you love that? It's the front porch of the university. Now, not when you're going to go visit people and stay with them, have a great meal. It doesn't all happen on the front porch, but it usually starts there when you lift a mint julep or a bourbon, Rob, and you sit down and get to know each other. And then from there, you go inside, and use extending this metaphor, students find out through their major and through their other social experiences or traveling, learning abroad, that they become grown young men and women that we can be proud of. So be careful with bringing private equity in if they insist on dominating how you're going to fit sports within your culture.
I'll throw this at you. What I'd be concerned about is even in the 65 teams in the big power playoff, and then the other 60, it's 68 really, because there's 133 Division I schools now. So what I'd be worried about is, as being in the financial markets, the money trail. I'd say, would they be favoring certain teams because they know what their TV ratings are going to be, and would it get real dirty in the back rooms? That's what you've got to worry about, because when there's money involved like that, the investors all want a return on investment. That's you have to follow that one closely, Doug. That's what you're saying is
That's a
right.
good point.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, did you have a comment on that, Brendan?
No, I would just I like to bark sometimes, and I just lay out, let the smart people talk.
Well,
No.
it's Rob's show. It's Rob's show and yours. And
It's all Rob.
It's all our show.
It's all Rob. It's Rob's
No.
show. I'm here merely to support, like a good
moral support.
good like support, like a good jock, support, like a maybe overhead thing.
Well, I know an octogenarian journalist in Florida who would be proud of your humility there, Brendan. But I was just going to say, speaking as one of Rob's
smartest guy,
uncompensated advisors, I welcome you jumping in to add to it or fact check me or anything. You do a brilliant job of that beyond producing.
Well, no, we always have you truly are one of our, if not the favorite guests we have, because we have you on so much, because you know so much, and I think people don't know like what you do, or and if they watch, but they have to understand that probably as much about Auburn football, Auburn sports, and it's connected in a lot of ways in the SEC that people don't really understand. We probably shouldn't talk about it. So it's like, you're like, people have to understand the South, there's like the SEC, and then there's like the SEC mafia, and that mafia has been around a long time. And let me tell you, it was interesting situation with the Jaden Rashada thing going down. I had a lot of inside information at the time it was going on from a booster. We've all had this situation, and we're not getting into details or whatever, but you kind of get, once you sort of, look behind the curtain there, of what used to be. I used to call it's like the bootleggers, old, dirt roads through the highways, right? That's like the old school families that ran through Valdosta and all this great like high school football, where a lot of this bag money showed up. And I being inquisitive, was in certain rooms at times. I started asking questions, and I would never divulge information or whatever. But the stories were, were the documentary, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Of how things really happened. How did it really go down when they've got this player or that player? And how connected was the university or not? This system that was designed was very mafia-esque in a sense. It was family to family.
Yeah.
This family handed the drop. This family, that's how it was. And it was like, wow. Like, that's how it went down. And we're not talking, $100, millions of dollars have gone down this way. And oftentimes coaches separated themselves, and I'll stop talking, by just playing dumb. And this whole other system ran independently, and they decided who was really worth it. And a lot of coaches didn't have a lot of say there, because they're making deals on what's possible. And of course, there were wants and decisions made probably through the Underground Railroad, but nonetheless, this system still exists, right? It's still over here in this way. And we're struggling in this NIL deal, in my opinion, to connect that old system, right, to this current, like, okay, but we can pay them now, we can do business. And these people are not that interested. Why? Because Rob, you just said it, the ROI, like in a lot of ways, this system over here had its own sort of like, a credit and sort of notoriety in a lot of ways. And now that's sort of gone in the sense of like, we've got these collectives, and I know these collectives are struggling so hard to connect to that money, and that money is not giving it to them. It's not happening that way, at least in my viewpoint. And I didn't know if that was a lot, but it's Monday.
No, absolutely spot on. And what did Adam say to Eve as they left the garden? These are times of transition. And so, we took, thanks to the TV moguls and the two big time power commissioner Sankey and the Big Ten commissioner, they took a bite of the apple. And the NCAA has mostly itself to blame, not the Supreme Court judgment. That was just the ultimate, straw that broke the camel's back, that was going to happen one way or the other. It could have happened by free market opportunity, but once that hit, then Pandora's box, which was close to blowing open, boy, has it blown open. And as we peek inside, we don't like every little gift that is popping out of there. But what we have to hope, I think the three of us are in agreement on this, is that back to the transition way of thinking about this, let's give it 5 to 7 years. I think 2 to 3 years is unrealistic. There will be a lot of chaos and turmoil and unintended consequences. There will be unfairness, like you saw arguably with Florida State. I know you don't have a lot of love for the Noles, but just looking at an injury only as a disqualifying factor, I will buy that from the selection committee the first time you have Alabama, Georgia, or Ohio State, who's been 1, 2, 3 all year long, and all of a sudden they're in the same exact position with a starting QB going down. Are they consistent? And I think we all know the answer to that.
Yeah, Doug, I'll throw something else. When you look at the interest, like at Auburn, there were 71 spots available this year in the Nelson Club scholarship seating. The last 2 went for $331,000 in priority giving. So people say, what's the demand? The interest, it just keeps rising. But Doug, that's as true a statement as I've heard in a while. I'll believe it when I see a Georgia, Alabama, Ohio State, Michigan. Look, Alabama in 21, when Mitchie got hurt in the SEC championship game, John Mitchie III.
Yeah.
They had Jamison Williams. But I'm with you. I think there's selective hypocrisy. And look, when you look at recruiting and you see these schools, what was that?
Sorry, I'm just saying there has been with NCAA enforcement too.
Yeah. And Doug, like when you think about coaches, now there was stuff going on in the past, and we all know it, and it's obvious. It's very obvious. But also, let's look here at Auburn. What Hugh Freeze is doing. When he got to Auburn, that roster was as depleted as you could imagine, and then he had to put together a staff, spur of the moment. It's a 180 from where he was a year ago. I think, and I'm beginning to feel like with the defensive linemen they're bringing in at Auburn and the offensive line improvements, that Auburn's going to have a legitimate chance to win a bunch of games this year. But switching coaches every 2 or 3 years is not the answer.
Oh, and this year, I guess chalk, do y'all agree, is Georgia gets back on track and is a slight, not a heavy favorite, I don't think, but a slight favorite to win the whole thing in the well, you got to win the Southeastern Conference first, and there's not divisions. So that's chalk. But something tells me, just because there's so much when you introduce variation to any process, the margin of error, the number of errors typically goes up short term. And so I think that's what we've got this year with Texas and Oklahoma coming in, presumptions being made that Oklahoma's beatable by, the Alabamas and Georgias. Probably so, but those teams play a high octane brand of football, and believe me, they're going to be motivated. And we saw what Texas can do, handing Saban his first home loss in a long time in Bryant-Denny, or first, maybe it was double-digit home loss. Regardless, there's a lot of variation being entered, and I come not to bury, but to praise my Crimson Tide friends this morning, Rob, at least in part. If you look at that draft from over the weekend, especially the first night, Kalen DeBoer puts 3 of his former players in the first round of the draft. You don't see that with Washington very often. That might be a first, in fact. So what do Bama fans, besides championships, live for? Because they correctly believe that it's very predictive of winning big, winning championships, and that's being a top 1, 2, or 3, top 3 at least, recruiting team rankings and recruiting.
Yeah.
So here sits Kalen DeBoer, and Saban was able to sell putting you in the draft early, the first round. So can Kalen DeBoer now. Bama fans should be excited about that, but you won't see the maturation of that completely until maybe this December, maybe a year later, to be fair to DeBoer. But before we hang up on the show, I'm going to circle back and tell you, in predicting shocking developments during the year, one that has to do with both the Alabama and Auburn QB position.
Well, interesting. For the fourth time, I think, in history, looking at something I read on The Athletic over the weekend, we had 4 quarterbacks taken. And we had 3 quarterbacks taken in the first 3 picks. And, of course, Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. And you go back in 1971, Jim Plunkett, Archie Manning, and Dan Pastorini. And you think Tim Couch, Donovan McNabb, Achilles Smith from Oregon in 1999. And then in 2021, you had Trevor Lawrence from Clemson, Zach Wilson from BYU, and Trey Lance from North Dakota State, I think it was. But no running back, Doug, taken in the first round. There's the really – but it's been trending that way. Bijan Robinson last year went number 9 to the Falcons. So he's not playing football anymore. He's playing for the Falcons. But anyway.
They're backs are a dime a dozen. So the old saw goes in modern NFL football. And there appears to be some truth to that. They know they're going to get a max on average of 3-4 years. The former Alabama running back is Derek. What's his last name, Rob?
Derrick Henry?
Yeah, Derrick Henry's a notable exception to that with longevity and durability. But here is before we get the man who just joined us in here in the mix. Here's what wild forecast I'm going to make. Or I don't know that it's that wild, but all you're hearing in Lee County and surrounding areas is, why is Hugh Freeze sticking with Peyton Thorne? Well, I think it's partly because it's the sequencing of quarterback and the roster. If you're going to you can't tell Peyton Thorne you're not even going to get to compete well for this. He's probably earned that. What you can do, and it's very tricky to bring in a 1 year, a one and done quarterback. That's because you're basically telling Peyton Thorne, this is most likely going to be my plug and play. That's a Lane Kiffin style operating. But so in part because Freeze has the desperation, you probably all played a poker hand where it's all you got and you can't just fold. You're too far in. So Hugh Freeze is going to play Peyton Thorne. There's not, barring injury, not a backup that is going to excite you yet. That could change in August or September. But I think the controversy at the QB position will actually end up being in Tuscaloosa this year. I come not to be unfair to Jalen Milroe, but when there's a transfer of Washington QB, Austin Mack, a big tall kid, who knows that offense, the time possibly is going to come by mid-season that Kalen DeBoer feels anxiety and tension that all head coaches do at big-time GOAT programs like Alabama, in which he just is not getting enough through the passing game from Milroe, and he feels a powerful temptation to experiment at QB. I think that's what's going to happen as the season progresses. I don't wish that on anybody. For all I know, Milroe can go win a Heisman Trophy, but I think that's more likely out of desperation that Auburn doesn't have a choice to play musical chairs, whereas Alabama probably is between Ty Simpson and Austin Mack. There, as the season progresses, there's more likelihood that DeBoer will feel tempted to experiment at the most important position on the field.
Yeah, and Jeremy Bernard, that wide receiver that came from Washington, so that'll be fun to watch him. Ben Troupe's on with us right now, Franz Beard, Doug Dean. And Doug, that one about Alabama, I think the scrimmage before A-Day probably told more than anything what's going on. But I think that quarterback situation there, it's going to be, hey, who knows my system better? And Ben, from playing ball, you bring in a quarterback. If you have two quarterbacks, you don't have a quarterback. You know what that means. But you can also alternate two guys in and out. And Franz, you know it. I mean, Florida did it. I mean, right after you left Florida, Ben, with Chris Leak out of Independence High School in Charlotte and Tim Tebow out of Nice. And I mean, Doug, you're making great
alternated quarterbacks on every play, against Florida State and then Penn State in the Citrus Bowl. It can be done. The odds that it will work, you better have a guru like Steve Spurrier who can sit there and fill your head with so much you got to do in one play that you don't pay attention to the fact that somebody else is in there for the other play.
Yeah.
Which I think Spurrier did. Ben could tell you that Spurrier won't fill your head with anything. He's just he just stands on the sidelines with his mouth shut.
Isn't that right, Ben?
Yeah, Coach Spurrier was a mastermind of helping you understand what your role was. And I think I always say this. It was everybody else and the quarterbacks. Those relationships you got with Spurrier, they were different. They were really, really different, right? But there is no greater feeling in the world than Coach Spurrier trusts you with his offense. And I always say this. Everybody loves Danny Warfel, as they should. Shane Matthews is the originator. He started it all. And when you have an orchestrator like that, even with Doug and everybody talking about two quarterbacks works when two quarterbacks understand. Hey, look, this is the starter right here, right? This guy comes in and does things that the starter cannot do. That's it. Not, hey, you play first half, you play second half. That's called a spring game. You can't do that winning football because you can't build a rapport with one guy. Jalen Milroe got coached under Nick Saban. You think he's worried about a guy coming from White? Man, Nick Saban coached me, man. I had to deal with that. Nothing against Coach DeBoer. I think he's going to do a good job. But you go through the scrutiny of playing for Nick Saban, man, please, you can deal with anything. I mean, because that's a high level of scrutiny. And when you talk about how much pressure you under as a starting quarterback at Alabama, the starting quarterback at Alabama is like, Dak Prescott. Only difference is Alabama going to win. You see, I'm just saying. I mean, it's the same level of pressure. So that's why we like college football, right? The uncertainty of it. This time last year, we was talking about Alabama. We didn't know who the starter was going to be. Like, who's going to be the starter at quarterback for Alabama? And if you watch that USF game, you had no clue. They go down to Tampa. I'm like, what in the world is going on in Alabama? And then they go on to beat Georgia and make the college football. So it's Alabama. We'll see, but they, I don't know what's going on with Hugh Freeze at Auburn. He's going to have to get it together quick because nobody going to feel sorry for him. You Auburn, you got to find a way to get it done.
All right. Well, I will say this too. Watching people try to play two quarterbacks, it is difficult. When one guy is if you bring him in every time you're inside the 10, every team knows what they're going to do. If he's fast, he's going to try to roll out. I see it too. I think coaches now are so afraid to make a depth chart. That's another problem. It's like, what are we going to do? Are we going to have? You got to have a backup quarterback because with potentially now with a 12-team playoff, you could play 17 games, which is what they play in the NFL regular season. That's the thing that Ben talked about it, and Franz, you put on here the best quarterbacks in the SEC this year are going to be who? Those coached by Lane Kiffin, Bobby Petrino at Arkansas. I mean, I think this guy he brought in from Boise is going to be pretty damn good. May not like Bobby Petrino, but damn, that guy knows how to coach.
Well, I think Arkansas is going to be a bottom feeder. No question about it. I think they're going to be a bottom feeder. They just have too many holes in too many spots. Carson Beck's best quarterback in the SEC. I mean, you may not like Georgia, and I don't. But that's a personal thing. But when it comes to professionally, I look at them. They're loaded up, and they're loaded up because they got the best quarterback in the country. Carson Beck can make every throw there is. He's been through a 14-1 season as a starter, and now he's coming back, and he's got really good receivers. And he's got, some people say, the best offensive line in the country to protect him. He doesn't have to do a lot except stand there and wait for somebody to break open, and he's got the arm to get the ball there. But I look at what's out there right now. Quinn Ewers, ever since he got rid of the mullet, he's been pretty damn good. Brady Cook at Missouri, Graham Mertz. People underestimate Graham Mertz, but Graham Mertz is a real player. He is a serious quarterback, and probably from a standpoint of intellect, there probably isn't another quarterback in the SEC that can touch him. Now, there are guys who can make more throws than he can. Quinn Ewers is unbelievable with his arm. Brady Cook at Missouri, etc. But the game, we talk so much about the quarterback. We don't pay him that much attention to who is he going to throw to. You can have, Graham Mertz last year. You give Graham Mertz a Ben Troupe at tight end. You give him a Jabbar Gaffney at wide receiver to go with Ricky Pearsall. All of a sudden, we're starting to talk Graham Mertz. Oh my gosh, the boy might even win a Heisman this year if you surround him with the right people. But he got sacked 34 times last year. Florida got sacked 39, and he got sacked 34 of them. So you can't make the good throws on your back. But I will say is Florida's offensive line, they got the two guys out on the wings that can protect with the long arms. And as Ben can tell you, if Ben's coming at me and my arms are longer than his and I get my hands in his chest, I have won because he ain't getting by me. That's, essentially.
I want to see that. I will pay money for it right now. Right now,
Ben's got an inch on you.
We're going.
Oh no, we're not playing. No, listen. Listen. I got a nephew in college right now, going up on his junior year. I got another nephew. He's going up his senior year in high school. Let me tell you something, man. My trash talking days are still elite, very elite. But at the end of the day, my 4-year-old nephew struck out on me because I was trying to take something from him. It was like trying to catch Kyler Murray. When he trying to run from defenders in Arizona, it ain't good, man. It ain't, because your body starts doing things. You start hurting places, and you go to your primary care doctor. He goes, "Yeah, man, you tore this and you tore it." I said, "You almost tore this." I said, "I just chased him about 30 seconds." He said, "When the last time you ran?" I said, "Ran fast."
Yeah.
Oh, it's been a long time. It's been a long time since I just, yes. Trash talking to what I would do is one thing. Brendan, Smoke.
Smoke is my name. With you and I'm Smoke.
You are Smoke all day long. But at the same time, what Franz Beard does is give you common sense football. Like when people say, "Hey man, why do they say that tackle right there ain't gonna go high?" Because he got short arms. Why does that matter? Because the guys he goes up against got long arms. You ever heard of the long arm? Well, I can long arm you if you got short arms. And now
it's a whole different deal.
Of course, but it's like
pass protection in the NFL, Ben.
That's
Isn't
it.
that right?
That's it. Jonathan,
I got quick enough hands to get my hands in your chest, and my arms are longer than your arms.
That's how it works.
Won.
Yeah,
it's over.
It's over. Complete control over the whole thing. Rob, your mic's not working.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Well, Ben, I got to ask you, talking about the long arms and tight end, you see it year after year. Everybody's saying we're going to go get tight ends, and it's such a valuable position. But let's get inside your helmet and talk about that sixth man on the offensive line who's got to be a great blocker. I mean, there's some legendary matchups where you put the irresistible force versus the immovable object, tight end versus a great outside linebacker. I mean, I remember one in college. Ed West, Colbert County, Alabama, Leeton, Alabama, Colbert County High School. Ed West, number 85, tight end, up against Wilbur Marshall, Astronaut High School in Titusville, Florida. It was an incredible game. 1983, Auburn 3, Florida 4. Auburn won 28-21. Man, there were 54 players between those two teams that went on and played in the NFL. It was about 50-50. Florida had great running backs. Neil Anderson, who was from Graceville, Florida. You had John L. Williams from Palatka, Florida. Lorenzo Hampton, Miami, Florida. Wayne Peace from Winter Haven, Florida was the quarterback. You had Lomas Brown. See, we can remember those games because guys stayed someplace for a long time. But Ben, why are there so few Brock Bowers? I know God only makes so many Brock Bowers. I'll get that. But if I'm a coach, man, I want a Ben Troupe, a guy that's as athletic as you are. I wouldn't say were. I think you still are. I think you still could do that stuff, jumping over people. What a weapon to have.
I could jump over a 2-year-old. I could jump over a little person. I could jump over them. But now, Rob, it's this. It's something my coach used to say. He goes, "You got to be good enough as a receiver at tight end. They don't care how you block. You got to be that good, though." It's like this. Jimmy Graham, I think, is still in the NFL.
Yeah.
Jimmy Graham has never been asked to block anybody, and he is 6'7", 265. But what he does in the passing game, the George Kittles of the world are rare. They are the rarest of the. George Kittle could be a Pro Bowler if he never caught a pass. He's that great of a blocker. Do we ever talk about Travis Kelce blocking? No, because we don't care. Because of what he does in the passing game. I think the thing about the tight end position now, fair or unfair, you got to be a guy that makes plays in the passing game, or you're a waste. Not a waste of talent, but it's like you can't just be a six man anymore because what the passing game is so it runs college football as well as NFL football. You got to be a guy to make plays, and I think for these tight ends, now make no mistake about it. Now, I had any inkling of a career because I had Aaron Kenny. When I get to Tennessee, there's Aaron Kenny. Aaron Kenny looked at me like, "It's all right, young fella, I got you." Right? Because what he did, I didn't do. And what I did, he didn't do. But you put us together, add a both scathe. Oh man, we was a great tight end tandem. It used to be you get two guys that do two different things. They don't supposed to do the same thing. Aaron Kenny looked like what he did. He was a road grader. Right? I used to love give me double tight. I'm on the same side as EK. Man, please. I used to roll. I didn't roll grade people. I went for the ride. He put his hands on him. I put his hands on him. And that guy goes that way. But I think the tight end position now is because of the Kyle Pitts, because of George Kittles and Travis Kelce's, it's almost unfair to these guys because they want one of those. Hey, I want one of them. I'm like, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's almost like we all BMWs, but he an M3. He do something we can't do. Now we all look the same, but if you put us on the road, he the one the police don't chase. They just radio up. Hey man, he'll be to y'all in about two minutes. But that's what I wanted though. Every tight end no tight ends complaining about getting the ball. No tight ends complaining about it until you got to make a play. It's when Travis Kelce is one-on-one against Fred Warner. Fred Warner is the best linebacker in football, and he can't cover him. The best linebacker in football can't do nothing. Fred Warner is in his late 20s. I think Travis Kelce is in his mid-30s. Couldn't do nothing with it. Because what it is once a tight end understands, man, my talent is one thing, my knowledge of the game is everything. Once I know what I'm supposed to do, oh, man, I can beat any linebacker if I know what I'm supposed to do. Because tight ends aren't more athletic than linebackers, but we match up. Because we're going to make a linebacker do what he don't want to do, play in space and cover. They don't want to do that stuff. They want to play inside them tackles, and they want to run and hit people. So I'm happy for him, though, because I think it adds a new dimension to the tight end because it forces him and the offense to utilize him. Now, we just got a guy named Kirk Cousins with my Falcons, and
my God.
We just got him. And
he's the best agent in all of sports, by the way.
Listen, I just hope that they find a way to get Kyle Pitts the ball. It is a travesty that you can't find a way to get him. And the things that, Atlanta Constitute, they'll say things like, well, maybe they can't see him. The quarterbacks can't see a 6'6" tight end. Yeah, that wears number 8. Come on, man. And I
But-
gotta say this.
But
Yeah,
the Falcons, their previous offense was sort of like Vince Dooley ran at Georgia, which is you needed a quarterback who had arms about this long and a great big mouth to put the football out and just hold it and run.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
Ben, I got a question before I go back to Franz.
Yes, sir.
This is a question I've had a lot of people ask me. They said, ask Ben Troupe this morning. Do NFL players have to go to workouts? I'm talking about strength workouts like you do in college, because the example they gave was Nick Fairley from Auburn. That Nick had he had to give up football because I think he had something wrong with his heart valve or something.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, when he was at Auburn in that national championship team, he was the best defensive player in the country, no question. But he was a big boy, and he didn't look like he spent too much time on the nutrition table, whatever. But talk real quick about that, because people wonder. I mean, you still work out, don't you? Are you 40 yet? You're really young. You're 41. Okay.
I'll be 42 this year. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
but you still work out. Tell me real quick the NFL deal.
I will say this: no, in the off season, no. But I was told, but if you want to be a great pro, yes. Because the great players like Aaron Donald, they ain't at the facility, but they got a nutritionist. They working out.
Okay.
I would say yes, because look, you need your body to respond. Like now, when I worked out in college, man, you ain't got no choice.
Yeah.
In NFL, they give you choice. They want to see how dedicated you are to the game. And the thing about it is your body, listen, your body is your driving force. What it does for you will decide as they say, will decide if you live in a neighborhood or the gated community. Period. Like it decide what address you have. And you have to learn real fast. The best players in the NFL, they take care of their body like nobody's business. I mean, these dudes, they tell them nutrition is what they eat, not the other way around. But yeah, you want to work out. You have to work out. It's a part of it's your job.
So but they're not as strict though.
No, they're not as strict. But listen, the worst thing is this: you come back for OTAs or minicamp.
Yes.
You don't have to weigh in, but they're gonna want you to weigh in, right? They're trying to see where you at. Now, if your playing weight is 250 and you 270, they're like, come on. They know you're not doing. Now, if your playing weight is 260 and you 265. Because most guys come in a little heavier because you're gonna lose a lot of weight. You're gonna lose a lot, but it's about showing the rest of your squad, man, you could be dependent upon. Like with Floyd Reese, man, he rest in peace, was a GM that drafted me. He said we only draft guys we can trust when you're not around us. That's what guys don't get. I got to be able to trust you when you're not in my. So when you coming out of shape and you at a pivotal position, that's not gonna work, man. I mean, only because your teammates be like, dude, most of the guys that get drafted, they ain't got no wives, they ain't got no kids. You got the guys that got wives and kids and all. Yeah, and they depended on us 20 somethings to come through. So I would say them youngins, make sure y'all get behind a veteran, man, that y'all can learn behind. Because I'm telling you, listen, if you don't, you gonna build animosity in the locker room real fast. And let me tell you something, man. The dog days of training camp. Hey, them veterans, man. You need them veterans on your side, man, because they know how to get back at you when they trying to cause it's all about what you mean to the squad. But yeah, get your behind there and work. Yeah. It's an hour and a half workout, and the workouts you do with the team, they suck now because they do all kind of little dumb little stuff, but. Yeah. Listen, it keeps you in shape. It keeps you ready for when it's time to, put on the helmets and pads for real. Because the younger you are, the more naive you are. The younger you are, the more, you need a swift kick in your behind. For real, you just do. And once you realize, look, man, this ain't for you. This is for the other 52. The other 52 guys on the squad I'm talking about the guys gonna play. Yeah, you have to learn that stuff real fast because. They say you don't got to pay for nutritionists to use hours. You ain't working on your own. People say, I'm working on my own. Go up there to the facility so they can give you a workout you can do. It's going to suck. You're going to sleep for about 45 minutes after the workout, take your behind home, play your video games, and come back the next day and do it again. Because nowadays, I mean, they're trying to get younger and cheaper. Every day in the NFL, they're trying to pay you a little much. But these young guys, man, people go, how does these old guys keep beating out the young guys? They take care of their bodies.
Yeah, it's dedication. I see it among people, running, swimming, biking, anything, working out. Like, what are you training for when you're 73 years old? Life. So you train now for life. It's taking care of your body. And I wasn't trying to be naive. I know you got to work out, but it's more like, hey, man, we're paying you, okay?
Yes.
You want that paycheck to keep coming. Franz, remember, Ben didn't probably see it as much. Remember, Franz, the Monday morning newspaper growing up? Man, they had the cut list, buddy. Field goal was missed. You're on that chopping block. It's pretty brutal. There's still a cut list, but Franz, kind of parlaying off of what Ben is saying, you're 22, 23 years old. We're paying you $15, $20 million. I mean, it's kind of an unwritten law. You want to stay around like an employee at a company. If you're a young lawyer, you're going to work 80 hours a week, 90 hours a week. I bet my son Wilson in mergers and acquisition and banking works 90 hours a week, maybe 100, doing all that business stuff. He's dedicated. He learned it from, I told him, I said, anything worth having is worth fighting for. But Franz, elaborate on this.
Well, first and foremost, you come out of college and you've been going to class, you've been having fun. It's your last 4 years of being free. And all of a sudden, this is your job.
Yeah.
All right. If you're a rookie this year in the National Football League, you'll make $500,000. If you were a drafted rookie, if you're an undrafted rookie, you only make about $420 if you make the team. That's still a bit more than what you could get in college. Okay.
Yeah.
There aren't many jobs out there that pay $420,000, $500,000. That's the rookie minimum.
Yeah.
And that doesn't include your signing bonus. If you were let's say a second round draft pick this year, your signing bonus is going to be somewhere around $3 to $4 million. Believe it or not, that's what they're going to get. $3 to $4 million spending money, and I'm getting a salary on top of that. That's a good life. You're going, if you value the fact that you can't just go walking down to your neighborhood Ace Hardware and say, I want to work for you. And by the way, my salary is going to be about $420,000 since you didn't hire me. I came to you. You didn't come to me. That guy at Ace Hardware who's pushing and shoving and working all these hours, and he's the boss, and he may have cleared 103,000 personal last year, is going to look at you like you got a one eye in the middle of your forehead and say, well, how nice, and send you packing. If you're smart and you come out of college, you realize this is now my job. I have a limited time in which I can work, because this is one of the most brutal jobs on the planet. Pays well, but the toll you pay and the price you're going to pay when you reach 42 years old, like Ben Troupe, is going to be enormous. I look at a guy like Wilbur Marshall, who can barely get out of bed because he has so many aches and pains and problems from all the hits he took playing college and professional football. Ben is fortunate. Ben can still run when somebody chases him,
Ben, did you have any severe injuries along that line when you played?
I mean, thank God I only had foot injuries. I had some concussions like most, but I didn't have any no ACLs, MCLs, PCLs, no Achilles. So I had no lower extremity. Dr. Andrews, the great Dr. Andrews, I never had to meet him. I never met him. But it's like Franz said, it's, when you understand what you're really doing, like when you understand, look, man, when they say, later on in life, because of what I did for a living, it's like, it's like my granddaddy say, if back when people used to iron their clothes, I don't even know if most kids even know what an iron is. And you kind of nick your hand a little bit. You don't really feel it at first. Later on, your hand get to burn you. Like it's like football is one of those things that if I can deal with what comes with it, let's do it. Because we all gonna suffer something here or there when you talk about just aches and pains of life. You've been working in the same job 20, 30 years, bending over, picking up stuff. But when I've been running into people, getting up off the ground for 15, 20 years, it's going to take its toll. But at least I can look back on it and say, man, did you enjoy it? Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's excuse me, it's hard to describe how much fun. Now, did I like practice? No. Did I like training? Did I like training camp? No. But the great Kevin Carter that went to Florida.
Yeah.
Tallahassee, Florida, Lincoln High School, 100 sacks, won a Super Bowl. I played with Kevin Carter twice. I played with him with the Titans, and I played with him with the Bucks. The problem is, when I played with him with the Titans, he was playing D tackle, so I ain't have to deal with him. I come over to the Bucks, and he's playing defensive end, and I'm like, what the hell is this? I got to deal with that. But and Kevin Carter has what is known as grown man paid taxes strength. Like he got, hey man, I pay taxes every day. I got a wife and kids at home. So when I used to grab him, when he used to let me grab him, I used to be like, hey, KC. He'll say, I got you, Gator. Because he knows, like on tape, right? They'll say, hey, Troupe, what's going on with you here in Kansas? What's going on with you and your teammate? I said, well, listen, that's Kevin Carter, right? Yeah. And the fact that he could play 3 technique and defensive end means, what is my 255 gonna do? He's 290 and he don't got that much body fat. He told me he's not gonna embarrass me on tape. I said, I appreciate that, KC, because I know my limitations. I said, look, I'm not no fierce blocker. I get on your nerves as a blocker. I'm gonna stay in front of you. You're not gonna make the tackle, and if you do make the tackle, it's gonna be 5 yards down the field. I was told to be a blocker. They said, listen, being a blocker is like being a pest. It's getting on people's nerves. You won't leave them alone, right? Well, when I used to have to block Kevin Carter, I used to come out the huddle and train the camp. I go, here we go. And he'll come to my side, and I'll do the best I could. That's why I said, as a coach, I'll look back at my coach friends, but like, listen, y'all, all right. Y'all know what y'all brought me here for, John Gruden. You brought me for the YH2 banana. I don't know what the hell this is. Well, you want me on the down block? But we did have work done, though. He could hit the hole fast. But these players now, I hope these youngers know this. Whether you play 1 year, 5 years, or 10 years, you better enjoy it. Because Dexter Jackson, when Appalachian State beat Michigan back in the day in like 2007. Dexter Jackson was a receiver and kick returner. He was a second-round pick in 2008 to the Bucks. They had a key to leave in the first round. Dexter Jackson in the second round. Dexter Jackson made it 1 year. They cut him after that first year. He was a second-round pick because the thing about it is now they ain't waiting, man. I'm not giving, as Franz just said, I'm gonna give you $4 million to sign, $500,000 bonus, and you think and you speeding in a Lamborghini and you just won the Super Bowl? I'm telling you, they're not dealing with that stuff no more because these same players that jump in the transfer portal, they remember that stuff. They still talented now. They want players that is willing to do whatever they tell them to do for as long as they tell them to do it until they leave. Like people go, they don't want no individuality. They want you to say, look, man, just do what I'm asking you to do. I'm gonna give you. When people say that's not enough money, you heard what Franz just said? $500K. That's your minimum. What? $500,000 is your minimum if you are a rookie, right? And when people be saying, yeah, man, but it's not, I said, man, let me tell you something. If you can't live off of $500K, I don't know what you're doing with your life. I don't care. And all right, some of them got to live in LA. So the ones that got to live in LA and California, may God bless y'all, because that cost of living out there is different. But I'm never gonna feel sorry for a kid that just got drafted or undrafted who makes $420,000 a year, and all you had to do was fall in line. Man, please, you should be able to do that. And for those people, and that kid Slater that just retired from New England, he was a receiver that caught like 2 passes, and he played like 15 years. But he's great. He might be the greatest special team of all time. He made millions of dollars to run down on kickoff return, punt return, and punt.
Shane Matthews, captain clipboard for 14 years in the National Football League, and still has his mind, still has his body because he didn't play that much, but he was so good. Spurrier trained him so well that he could go in there and learn somebody's offense like that and the perfect guy to have as your captain clipboard. He's on the sideline. He's got his baseball cap on. If it's cold, he's got on his parka, and he's got his gloves on. He's got it, but he always has that clipboard. That clipboard kept him in the league for 14 years.
Yes.
And when he turns 55 years old, which isn't that far off, I think he's only got about 2 or 3 more years before he hits that, he starts getting his NFL pension. And that NFL pension is going to be pretty hefty because of his years of service. As Ben knows, he got 4 years in the league. You get a pension. Holy cow! When
3 years and 4 games. 3 years and 4 games, Franz. So before my 25th birthday, I'm sitting there. Man, look, I'm just a country boy, man. I enjoy my time with guys be like, oh, I want to play for this and play for that. I didn't know the rules like nobody else. I ain't know about no CBAs. I don't know about no 401ks. I don't know about no pensions. I don't know. But when you get to talking to people that say, hey, man, just keep on doing what you're doing. They say what? They say the goal is to make it to where you got something to pass down. The goal is to make it to where you got to go talk to people. You know, they say, listen, who do your taxes? I said, my rookie year. I said, who do your taxes? I said, I don't know, man. I think, the people that be at Walmart. He said, H&R Block. He goes, yes, no. They don't do your taxes. They do everybody else's tax. You got to get a CPA. I said, what's that? And I'm telling you, it becomes a total different world. But country boy, Swainsboro, Georgia, Augusta, Georgia, Gainesville, Florida, Nashville, Tennessee. I had a cup of coffee down there in Tampa. I spent the rest of that year in Oakland. I had to go away from the South. 1 year in California, and it was overrated to me. You know what I thought when I went to California? I was like, dang, I done seen Pretty Woman. That was one of my favorite movies with Richard Gere and Julia Roberts. Where's Rodeo Drive? They said, boy, you in Oakland.
Yeah. Yeah, it's in Beverly Hills. Yeah. Well, but look, think about this. What happens, you get all that money, and again, we deal with it in my team at work. The first generation employs, the second enjoys, and the third destroys. Make your kids work. And when you are 22, and okay, let's think about this, guys. 6th and 7th round draft picks. They're likely going to make the team, Ben. Yes or no?
If they're exceptional, after the third round, after the third round, anybody third round and down, I mean, you got to make the squad and I didn't understand that when I got drafted, because I got drafted really high. So I didn't understand the scrutiny, but it's 250 some guys drafted. I want you, they should keep an eye. How many of those guys are going to be on an active roster in 2024? It's not going to be all 256 or whatever it is, not going to make a roster, but you're going to get more of an opportunity if they draft. If they drafted you, that means you are a high priority. But I mean, it doesn't. There are no guarantees, because you got to think you're trying to win now, and unless you are Michael Penix Jr., who Terry Fontenot, the GM, said he could sit for 4 or 5 years, which I hope he don't sit for 4 or 5 years. We'll see what happens with that. It's if you are a late round pick, you got to make the squad. You got to show promise. And if you see a free agent make a squad, that means the draft pick did not. If a free agent that they just picked up make the team, that means that there's going to be some draft picks.
Okay.
Now, we don't think about it. If you were a draft pick and you get cut, you got a real good opportunity to make another team on another squad. But no, it's big business now. And it was so much with these young quarterbacks developing like they had, coming out of college ready like that puts more pressure on GMs to win now. So
it's an investment, Ben.
Yes,
I've got to understand one thing. They're going to pay me all this money, number one. Okay. Because they're going to pay me all this money, I have to be ready from day one.
Yes.
Also, because the position, you look at all the quarterbacks who get hurt. You look at, for example, Kirk Cousins, your guy there. They drafted Michael Penix because of one basic reason. They hope to get 1 or 2 good years out of Kirk Cousins, but they understand his injury situation has always been fragile. You know, I guess the word fragile would be a right word to use with him. And Michael Penix Jr. better be ready from day one. And he's got to understand, I'm going to get a bonus, probably about $19 million.
It's up there.
Okay. He's going to have 19. He is set for life if he's got the right people around him. If he's like Kwame Brown, who was in Brunswick, Georgia, who had it all given to him and he trusted the wrong people, he ain't got anything right now because he trusted the wrong people. He trusted his buddies and everything like that. And here's this guy who's 19 years old out of Brunswick, Georgia, going into the NBA, and he's got an entourage of 40 people that he's got to support.
Yeah. The worst thing about having money is letting people know you have money.
Well, he couldn't really hide. I mean, he hit the lottery, and but Michael Penix though, this is what they didn't. So you see with NIL, you come from Washington, right? The international championship. You like, wait a minute. If you're able to get NIL money when only a couple of people know you the number one draft pick for the Atlanta Falcons. You know how many car dealerships in Atlanta? You can't get it. They can't get you. They can't get you two of them. You know how many people. That's the thing about Michael Penix or these players coming in now is, Michael, what kind of car you want? BMW. Wow. What kind you want? They can get him one, right? That's the thing too, friends, that I didn't understand is no one understands leverage. Not one player in the draft understands it. When you got it, that's all you got to tell your agent or financial people, hey, man, I want this type of car. How much you want to pay for it? $0. Make it happen. They can do that because when you 21 to 26, you like stuff. Like you want to play, but you love it. You still play video games. You eat candy, cookies. You know, you do what 21 to 26-year-olds do. You just got a lot of money, right? So you go, hey, man, what is it going to take for you not to spend your money? Oh, it's going to take this. All right, done. What type of house do your mama want? She want a $500,000. Not going to happen. We can get her this. Because these type of things, because when they draft you, they do draft your whole family. And some of these jokers come from some big ones. And I'm talking about immediate families. It's how you leverage it, because the problems you have as a rookie, they should go away as a second-year guy. You shouldn't be sending out the same amount of money because you got to get used to this lifestyle. But, man, ain't nobody going – when I think about these players now, they got so much more. Some of these guys are making less money now, depending on where they got drafted, depending on who they were. I mean, Joe Milton went, fifth round, sixth round to the Patriots, I want to believe. He was doing some good NIL stuff up there in Tennessee, right? So you got to utilize that – and he's another guy. Joe Milton got to make the team. I mean, they're going to do all they can to keep him, but the Patriots ain't what they used to be. I saw a comment on here saying J.J. McCartney going to have the best career. Ain't no more Bill Belichick. This is Gerard Mayo. This ain't the same Patriots we've grown to know and love over the last 20-something years. This ain't Tom Brady. That's Gerard Mayo, that's J.J. McCartney. But I just hope that these players understand that when they get to saying, I thought I was going to do this, I thought I was going to do that.
One of the great stories, Ben, is Magic Johnson comes to the Lakers and they get a guy named Michael Cooper, and he's a great guy, runs the court, one of the better defensive players, drives a Volkswagen Beetle. I mean, the old Beetle, air cool, rear engine,
punch buggies.
You got, hey, I had one at one point.
Damn right.
But that's what he drives. And Magic Johnson sitting there saying, hey, man, you can afford it. Why go, And Michael Cooper said, at some point in time, you're going to spend all your money the way you're going. He says, at some point in time, I'm going to have all the money I didn't spend making money for me. And Magic said, what? He said, that's right. Magic Johnson ends up studying him. Next thing you know, Magic has Michael Cooper doing all his money. But Michael Cooper turns out was some kind of a genius on that. Magic Johnson now owns something like 150 movie theaters. He's making money hand over fist. He owns part of the Los Angeles Dodgers. But that's because this is a guy that was smart enough to look around and see what's going on. You know what?
Yep.
Tell me what makes sense, because what makes sense when you're 21 may not make a whole lot of sense when you're 31 or 41.
Yeah. Well, the bottom line is we run out of time here. I will say the average client that I deal with in my practice, their vehicle's 8 or 10 years old, at least. They're not driving up in Lamborghinis and Maseratis and Bentleys. It's just not. And in fact, I just think of the wealthiest people I know, what they drive. My son has the wisdom to say, not many people pay attention to a guy driving a $3,500 car with $100,000 in his checking account, but they'll pay attention to a guy driving a $100,000 vehicle with $7,500 in his checking account, because they think, in reality, that's just assignment of debt. And Ben's right. And it nothing wrong with going out and buying nice stuff. Don't, that's not what this is about. It's just that as we get a little older and wisdom, we start realizing, like when you see people in their 80s and 90s, that can barely move, it's like, man, do everything you can to take care of yourself. Stretch out, take care of yourself. Ben, you're amazing, and so is Franz. Franz is active as can be. I mean, both of y'all. I mean, we all are. And the message there is, every NFL player that I know, the ones I know, it was about 5 years. What happened? Somebody bigger, faster, stronger, younger, that would work cheaper came along. And they're good players. But you know what? They were ready to go to work. When they go, that was a great career. It was awesome. But there's life, beyond. I remember legendary former Georgetown basketball coach, John Thompson. He had in his office all the trophies and the awards and everything. It was pretty cool at Georgetown. But on his desk, he had a deflated basketball. Of course, my dad, as a paperweight, had one of the original breast implants that was made as a paperweight on his desk. I was like, Dad, that's crazy. But I'm telling you, you go back and you look, deflated basketball. And John Thompson said, that's to remind people that the air is going to be out of that ball one day. You've got, you can make a living with your hands, son. You can make millions with your mind. And I love to listen to what both of y'all have said today, and Brendan and Doug B. Dean in the first part of the show. I think it's cool. Look at these stats. I'll throw these at you. The 24 draft ties 1983 for the most first-round quarterbacks. 8 offensive tackles were drafted in the first round. No running backs, safeties, or linebackers were drafted in the first round. And it's interesting, there were 23 offensive players taken in the first round. That's the most in NFL history. Read the tea leaves. I mean, what's happening in college is happening on the next level in the NFL. And if you've got a good defense in college now, man, that could put you in the playoff pretty fast.
Halfway decent. Just have a halfway decent one. I mean, complimentary one.
Yeah. This is why Ron Roberts, you look at what Ron Roberts did for Auburn. Auburn last year comes in there and I know I don't mean to get y'all worked up, Rob, because
he's a damn good coordinator. I'm a big fan of his.
But you look at what happened.
Yeah.
Despite the play there against Alabama, which you can't explain, and despite what happened at New Mexico State, when your defensive tackles decided to take no-dos before the ball game, and despite that, he was a 7 points and 4 first downs a game difference. Okay, that's why Auburn got to a bowl game with a team that shouldn't have been there. Florida last year, if they had 7 points difference in there and 4 first downs a game difference, Florida's an 8-4 team instead of a 5-7.
Yeah. Hey, Ron Roberts, creeper defense, Ben. He started it at like Delta State, Southeast Louisiana, was worked at Baylor, been around, but it's really good at disrupting RPO offenses. And I think with what's happening in the portal and NIL and everything like that, it's amazing. Dr. Aronoff, smart man. Dr. Aronoff, I like it, man, up in Panama City in the panhandle of L.A., Lower Alabama. Apparently, y'all Florida people don't even think the panhandle is Florida. Someone said that the other day. The panhandle is not Florida. I'm like, yeah, it is. Listen, I've grown up going down there. Orange Beach, the OBA, and
Florida
and
starts
Brighton
at
Beach.
Florida starts
See,
at the
there we go.
Columbia County line.
There we
goes
go.
straight across and goes down to the Palm Beach County line, straight across. Everything in between is Florida.
Yeah.
Down below the Palm Beach County line, you were talking about Cuba del Norte.
Yeah.
You're talking about from Jacksonville over to Tallahassee. That's Lower Georgia.
Yeah.
You talk about that's Lower Alabama west of that. On the west coast of Florida, that's called Canada in the south, because that's what you get. A lot of
the
Canadians
snowbirds. Oh yeah. Well, let me tell you what, guys. Y'all will be on tonight. I know some of y'all, the Buddy Martin Show. Check that out Monday through Thursday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, live on the YouTube, all kinds of places like we are. Appreciate all of our viewers and listeners. Guys, awesome panel. I had so many people asking me about the draft, but that was cool. I love getting inside y'all's heads. That was a cool take about the draft and what's expected of you. But hell, you're an adult, nothing will get you up out of bed in the morning early like having kids. And I'm waiting.
I'll just throw one thing at you guys. Florida had one guy drafted and one free agent signing. That tells you the whole story about where Florida is and why Billy Napier's got to be given time to rebuild the program, because that was it. And you look at the guy that was drafted.
Wow.
He didn't even start at Florida. That was Ricky Pearsall. He started out his career at Arizona State and came to Florida for 2 years. So he was a transfer. Not one single homegrown Florida kid got drafted out of the University of Florida.
Yeah, and you had 8
tells you about the program.
Yeah, and 8 SEC schools represented, counting Texas and Oklahoma now, in the first round. And Auburn had 5 players drafted, all defensive players, not a single offensive player. I mean, Ben, golly, we'll get you back on this week. There's this time of year, we do a lot of beat reporters, covering their beats of the schools. Baseball, it's kind of it's not, you don't do it as much with that. Football and basketball, we do. We're going to be getting more and more into these topics. Our job is to make you think. I heard last night when I was hiking before I ran, I listened to Denzel Washington. I love that guy. Have you ever heard his motivation? It's a commencement speech he gave. And he said, there's an old IQ test they used to give, and it had 9 lines, and you had to connect 5, things in there. And he said, you couldn't do it. You had to think outside the box. And he goes, I was in college, and I was struggling. I was at Fordham, and the school decided that I should take a break for a while. He goes, I had a 1.75 GPA. He goes, some of you may can identify. I hope not. And they were all laughing. But think about it. He goes, I didn't have a fallback plan because I never planned to fail. And another thing, I listen to a lot of motivation and in your head stuff. The term is used on, what an unbelievable play. No, you should believe absolutely that it should happen. It's not unbelievable. It was maybe unexpected, but man, getting y'all on here, this is a lot of fun. And I'm going to tell you something. Follow Ben, 84 Reasons, does a great podcast. Franz Beard, show prep for every show in America, GatorbaitMedia.com. Check him out on the Buddy Martin Show. True Grit Journalism, y'all are both covering it. drill down local. That's what we try and do. But I think the cool takeaway from this is, yeah, you get in the NFL, you're an adult. You know, who's doing your taxes? You better get you a CPA.
Right.
I mean, that's a very good point. And that's
Denzel Washington, by the way, graduate of Daytona Beach Mainland High School.
Wow. I did not. I know Seabreeze High School down there in Daytona Beach is the Sand Crabs. That's their nickname. I
The
remember that well.
Buccaneers.
Yeah. What are they?
The Buccaneers.
There we go. All right. Hey, guys, we live in the greatest country in the history of the world. Don't ever forget that. Go make it happen. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks all of y'all for participating. Support our sponsors. Great job, Brendan. See you in the morning.
Now more than ever, it is so important to shop local and to buy American. For 60 years, Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company has been on the historic Collierville Square, and we strive to sell made in the USA products when available. With over 7,000 pairs of Western boots and work boots in stock for men and women, come and see our huge selection of clothing, jeans, and accessories from top brands made in the USA. Please support local business and come shop with us at Hewlett & Dunn Boot and Clothing Company. God bless the USA.
In a perfect world, you'd set a health goal and results would happen overnight. In this world, the real world, it takes time, dedication, and the right support to achieve your best self. The Vitamin Shop's health enthusiasts are here to make sure you're not wasting a single moment on the wrong supplements. From the highest quality sports nutrition and superfoods to the most sought after trends, you'll find a huge variety of science-backed solutions for every goal. And the people to help guide you along the path to greatness.
Unbelievably, every 2 minutes in our communities, a child is either bought or sold for sex. I am Ari Dickey, board member for the Nashville Anti-Human Trafficking Coalition. Join me and millions of others in our fight against human trafficking and for its victims by helping to educate the most vulnerable among us, our middle and high school students. Go to nhtcoalition.org, become a partner, and help keep our families safe, because none of God's children are for sale.